Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I'm your Revolver Shorty, and I've been doing this for a while now. And before I was doing the videos, I was doing the podcasts, and I sometimes feel like I have certain aspects of comic books which I really like talking about, and I worry sometimes I get repetitive. So if that happens, I do apologise. If you've fed up with me talking about 9-panel grids and the dynamism and the motion lines, I do apologise. I'm doing something a bit different and try to break out the routine and break out the cycle a little bit. So anyway, I'm going to review a Marvel comic today where it's about a character that's been revamped and given a new role. And totally unique and original. So you can see what I did there. Yeah, it's Iron Fist, and it's going to be a full one to review. There's a lot I like about it. There's a lot of fun stuff going on. There's a couple of bits which aren't 100%. So I'm going to do with those two things first. Number one, there's quite a lot of exposition in this comic book, and I find a lot of it to be necessary. I have not really read much Iron Fist stuff. I'm aware of the character, his place within the Marvel mythos, and I'm a little bit aware of Swordmaster, not as much as I'd like to be, and I didn't really read much of the Death of Doctor Strange. So there's a lot of stuff that kind of needed to be told to me, and I totally understand that it did that, and for the most part, it did it in a really, really cool way. What it didn't do very well, though, is avoid repetition. There's moments where you have the basic storyline in your head, everything's going fine, everything is totally understandable, and you see where they're going with it. Then another character tells you it's again because they're actually vocalizing it to other characters on the page. And it feels like there might have been an easier way to have that conversation feel a little bit more natural. It's not a massive criticism, but it's there and it's noticeable. It kind of shows a little bit of, unsurety in the writing. Secondly, artwork, for the most part, I absolutely love it. There's a couple of coloring issues where I think, I don't know if an eye was off the ball or something, but both times I spotted it, it was to do with the character's hair. And it's Danny Rand, who is notably blonde. And in a couple of shots, maybe it's because he's supposed to be shown in shadow, but it actually just looks like he has darker hair. And there's another character appears later on who one has black hair and the one has grey hair. And it feels like, I don't know if that's supposed to be because it was better lit. I don't know. But it felt like if it's just black hair, you could just leave it black with highlights rather than do it different shades. I don't know. These are small criticisms in the grand scheme of things. Because for the most part, I did love this comic book. When I'm talking about the exposition, what it is basically explaining who the new Iron Fist is and how they got their powers, and a little bit of backstory to them. And I find this necessary because there's so much I don't read in the Marvel Universe. A lot of my reasons for not reading the Marvel expanded universe kind of stuff is that it all feels like if you don't read it, you're going to be punished. And I find that to be annoying, and I don't want to fall into that trap of reading everything to make sure I'm fully aware. So I understand the need for exposition, and when it's done well, like it is in this, it is thoroughly enjoyable. You actually get first-hand accounts of stuff, and you get somebody else coming in who doesn't know what's going on and trying to guess. Particularly well-written Danny Rand in this. I want to say well-written, I mean, he is, for the most part, an insufferable arse. But that's good. That is how Danny Rand is. I have no argument with that. It's kind of nice that they've given the character Iron Fist, or the character who bears the mantle of Iron Fist, to either an Asian or an Asian American. It's one of those throwback early days of Marvel Comics and early days of most Western media, where it was considered easier to cast this head white guy than it was to put somebody in who actually made sense. I mean, you don't need me to tell you all this. Obviously, the TV series Kung Fu exists. You can go and look at that. David Carradine instead of Bruce Lee, and that's a whole thing. I imagine there's probably some people going to be annoyed as if this has taken away their enjoyment of the comic book somehow because they don't see themselves represented in this comic book in the way they liked. I will counter that by saying the white guy in the comic book before representing you as Danny Rand, who was a multi-millionaire arse. It's fine to not have you represented in every single way you want. Sometimes it's not going to be great. This one, the character still isn't perfect. He has failed in some of his duties, and he's trying to make amends for it. And that makes him slightly more interesting. It's not just because he's had everything handed to him as a silver platter, any single misadventure or mishap feels like it's a personal attack on him and he shouldn't have to deal with it. This feels like he's owning up to his mistakes and he's trying to do something about it and move on. It makes him surly, it makes him churlish, and it makes him a little bit annoying. But you can at least understand it because we get the wider story. It's presented really quite effectively. And I cannot carry on for much longer because I've only got 30 seconds left. I want to talk about the character design. I really like it. I like the fact the colouring is very accurate. I like the fact they give him two different colours for the glowing fist. Yes, you can see one there. I don't have the time to show you every single page of it. And I love the mask. I like the fact that it's more domino mask than bandana, even though it still ties around the back. I like the fact that it isn't just showing off his chest with a huge scar or tattoo or whatever it is on there. It feels far more functional. And I also like the hand wraps that go all the way up his arm. It's one of those things which, when you look at it purely as a character design point, looks absolutely brilliant, but actually has a reason. And I like functionality as well as form. I think those two things can be married really effectively and give you a great character that makes you want to pay attention to them and why they're dressed the way they do and how good they look when they're fighting, and does look very good in the fight scenes. Pretty much a necessity for it, and it's handled very, very well indeed. Alyssa Wong, great writing. Michael Igg, brilliant artwork. All in all, a very successful launch, and I hope it's as popular as it looks to be. I know we've completely sold out, and I know it's already going for money on eBay because people are really struggling to get hold of this one. I'm hoping this is going to be a big one for Marvel, and I'm glad that it's as well written as it is. That's it from me today. I'm going to be back tomorrow with another review. Until then, look after each other, everyone. Stay safe. Bye.